Incidentally, Winky's well known for his friendships with superstar athletes in major sports, and I want to congratulate you, Emmanuel, on your Detroit Tigers picking up Gary Sheffield, who's walking behind Winky there. That's part of his St. Petersburg heritage, Larry.
He's into the all-sports scene here in Tampa. They have professional hockey, professional baseball, professional football. And Winky is the fourth pro franchise. I must say, however, given what I said earlier tonight, this is not a really impressive turnout for the two local stars. Not a bad turnout, maybe 10,000 people, but not the kind of overwhelming turnout you would have thought they would have attracted.
Not the 15,000 plus who attended the Jeff Lacey fight here a year and a half ago. Not the 22,000 who came through the turnstiles here last October to see Roy Jones against Antonio Tarver in their third fight. But the fans here have already gotten a good fight from Jeff Lacey and Vitaly Sipko, won by Lacey on a close majority decision. Now they get Winky Wright against Ike Quartey. Let's go to Lupe Contreras for the official introductions on this one.
From the St. Pete Times Forum, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Winky Promotions and Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, in association with DeBella Entertainment and Rockstar Energy Drink, Party Like a Rockstar, presents this 12-round middleweight special attraction. The judges are Dave Moretti, Don Trella, and Peter Trematera. The referee, Frank Centaur Jr. And now, Tampa, Florida, let the world hear you as we find out who is El Más Macho. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, he steps in wearing the colors of his homeland, red, green, and gold, and weighing in at 157 pounds. His professional record, 37 victories, with 3 losses, 1 draw, and 31 of his victories coming by way of knockout. The former WBA welterweight champion of the world, fighting out of Accra, Ghana, Ike Bazooka Quartey. Across the ring in the red corner, he steps in wearing blue, trimmed in black, and weighing in at 159 1/4 pounds. As a professional, he maintains an impressive record consisting of 50 victories, with 3 losses, 1 draw, and 25 of his victories coming by way of knockout. He has become one of the most highly decorated fighters of his era. Ladies and gentlemen, the former undisputed junior middleweight champion of the world, fighting out of St. Petersburg, Florida, Ronald Winky Wright.
Winky, here we go. Like, all right, guys, going everything in dress from your belts right about where they're supposed to be. John, I remind you again, I just told you, but the 3 knockdown rule is in effect for this fight. It's under Florida State Athletic Commission rules, all right? Gentlemen, do we have any questions? Any questions here? Good luck to everybody.
2 old pros. Can they give us a young man's fight?
I would say yes. Winky seems to have still a very angry attitude that has been carrying over since the decision was rendered in the fight with Jermaine Taylor, and he seems to be bringing it into this fight also.
Time. Quartey turned to talk to the people in his corner. had his back turned at the moment that the bell sounded, but plenty of time to turn around and meet right in the middle of the wing. Good left up the middle, starts things off for Winky Wright. Which man can land his jab? Second straight left hand to land for Wright. Now he decides to put a little bit more mustard on it. Quartey jabbing to the body.
Quartey thinks that Winky holds his hands so high he can go to the body. Let's see.
Wright tries to the body first. Quartey holding that guard up and blocking Wright's shots as Wright tries to jab through the guards.
Winky's fighting very aggressively. I was very surprised when he fought Jermaine Taylor because it was out of his character the way he came out and attacked Taylor. And he seems to have picked up the same thing in this fight. Maybe not as aggressive as he was with Taylor, but very busy.
You suggested that you think maybe his defensive skills are slipping. Do you think Winky has focused on becoming a better offensive fighter, Emmanuel, to make up for that?
Well, I really agree with what Quartey said, that he, I think, was influenced a lot with Winky keeping his hands up high, because early in his career, Winky was a shifty boxer. And during that time over there, I think when they was training together, I really do believe that he started to becoming more defensive-minded, trying to emulate Ike, who was the big star at that time. But the thing I look at is still Winky's legs right now. It's not like he's still flat-footed, wide-legged, and he doesn't have that good footwork that he used to have when he was younger. So he makes up for it by keeping a good defense and being busy, but not that much with his foot anymore, like he used to move around and punch a lot.
By and large, there hasn't been as much footwork since he chose to fight Fernando Vargas coming forward in 1999.
Right. He still was boxing a lot when he fought Fernando, and after that, it seemed like the legs changed a lot. But he always kept his hands up high in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years probably.
They could fight this fight in about a 10-foot ring.
So far. They've been standing in the center of the ring and firing shots at each other. Both of them skilled defenders, both of them blocking many of the shots. But if anybody's gotten stuff through, it's Wright with his left hand.
And his right hand to the body, too, around the ribs has been pretty effective.
Now Quartey starts to get that left hook going. He was so sharp with it when he used it against Vernon Forrest. Forrest threw many more punches, but Quartey landed at a much higher rate. And there are good left hook to the body by Quartey. Wright coming back with the left lead upstairs.
Good round.
Wink is very busy this round.
Wink is using that straight left to set up his jab.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit of everything. I mean, he was so busy this round. And Quartey can't match his output. And going down the stretch, that plus the physical size may be to Winky's advantage.
Quartey's trainer, Daniel O'Danton, who's been with him since he was 7 years old, acknowledges Ike's shortcoming is punch output. We need to get him to throw more. At age 37, that's a hard thing to do. And when we go to Ike's corner, where they speak his tribal language of Ga, Afori Anur is our interpreter.
Relax, relax. Timing. And then pause a little bit. You have room. You have room. And then triple up on your punches. 3-4. Don't give him any chance. He's kind of pushing you. He's kind of pushing you. Pushing you. And move along. Move along. Okay?
Bang his butt. I know you can beat this guy right in the pocket, but box him a little bit. Box him a little bit. All right? Show him a feint now. Show him a feint this round. Easy work. Be first. Don't let him get off.
That round was virtually exactly as everyone expected this fight to go.
Well, you both talked about how busy Wright was. He threw 102 punches in the round by CompuBox count, landing 22. Quartey 9 out of 63. 63 punches is a pretty busy round for Ike Quartey, but he's not in the same league with Winky when Winky really lets his hands go and throws 100 punches as he did in that stanza. Quartey trying to get to the body now. It's easy to see when you watch Ike Quartey how much more he commits to left-hand punches than to the right. He just never has gotten the habit of committing to his right in the same way. Good right hook by Winky Wright.
Yeah, Winky is in there because he knows he's the stronger man. Ike is a natural welterweight, very strong at welterweight. Looks just the way he did as a welterweight, even though he weighed 10 pounds over that 147-pound limit.
Chopping left hook upstairs by Quartey. He fires it twice to the body.
Yeah.
Now he lands a little right hand.
Quartey doesn't seem to have the strength of Winky. Winky seems to be physically much stronger and much bigger. Quartey is the puncher between the two, but Winky's got a good chin. And after he finishes up with his power punches, Winky's going to come right back to him and make him work again.
But Quartey's been able to throw enough and land enough in this round that he's begun to slow Winky's punch count down.
But I don't know if Quartey can continue at this pace. Well, Quartey is usually very conservative and doesn't punch that much. He's punching at a much faster output than he normally punches at.
He was throwing at 60 punches around when he was fighting De La Hoya and Vargas. In recent fights, since his comeback, he's been throwing about 10 fewer. But he seems to be stepping it up here, at least early in the fight.
Well, Winky's making him step it up.
Winky threw 58 jabs in the first round. He's only thrown 21 in this round. So Quartey has begun to take Wright's jab away a little bit.
Hands are free, punch away out, guys.
A little bit of a welt, I believe, under the right eye.
By Quartey, and that's exactly where that welt is, under the right eye. And there's another good left hook by Quartey. Ducking right and then landing two left hooks. And then Wright lands one punch and backs Quartey up. That's the difference in size.
This has turned out to be exactly right. A very good fight. Both guys are fighting out of their character.
And that's again because the underdog still thinks he's the alpha dog.
Yep, it's going back to that when they was a camp. I was thinking because Winky's got this personal thing about he always wanted to fight Ike, and he was really frustrated with always being underneath him. And bringing that in, plus the rage that he still got related to Jermaine Taylor, is making him fight much more aggressive than he normally fights.
This will be ruled a knockdown on a right hand by Wright. Quartey shakes his head and he gets up, saying that was not a knockdown, that was a slip. But the bottom line is, in a round that Quartey might have been winning, Wright gets a knockdown. That's huge on the scorecards. That could have been a 2-point swing right there.
3-point.
3-point swing, exactly.
Give me the water.
Give me the water. Let's take some water. You are dropping your hands. You're dropping your hands. When you're going in, you drop your hands. Don't drop your hands. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Yeah, keep it up.
Right, yeah. Okay. Right here you see him throwing a right hook, and I don't think it landed as much as it kind of cuffed him and pulled him off balance. And it tripped him, and he went down, and they called it a knockdown, which they officially could, but it was more of a trip.
He hit him on the neck, on the side of the neck. And just the force of the blow that turned him off balance.
CompuBox numbers in 2. Wright was 24 out of 84. Quartey was 24 out of 77. Quartey landing 24 out of 67 power shots. It's all for naught for Ike as Wright got that knockdown in the closing seconds of the round. Now has a 3-point lead on the Letterman scorecard and probably on the others as well. Quartey's left eye is beginning to swell. So there's some urgency already for Ike Quartey going against the bigger, stronger Winky Wright.
Yeah, usually veteran fighters usually come out and pace themselves, but this is the case here. You got a veteran fighter against another veteran fighter. So Winky just came out and took control right away instead of waiting like he did with Trinidad. And with most of the fighters he's been fighting recently, he came out very aggressive early in the fight.
Well, Winky believes that Quartey will wind down, that he has 4 or 5 brisk rounds in him, and then he will wind down.
And there's a history of that for Quartey. Faded late in his fights with both De La Hoya and Vargas. And against Jose Luis Lopez in a fight he won, a fight in which he set the all-time CompuBox record for any weight class for number of jabs landed, 313 jabs in 12 rounds.
I think Winky's fighting a very smart fight, based on everything that both of you just said, which is true. He normally falls apart, in particular at the pace that Winky's making him fight it. The one thing about Ike still, he's still the puncher between the two of them. He just physically, I don't think he's big enough.
And he's never really been a one-punch knockout puncher.
No, and Winky has a good chin.
He did floor Oscar De La Hoya with his left hook. He utterly destroyed Vince Phillips on a night when he landed everything, but mostly Quartey is a guy who racks up the jab and the left hook on his way to decision victories. Wright letting his hands go down the stretch in the third now. Been a very active round again for both fighters. Good left hand down the pike by Winky Wright. Winky just has a lot more variety in his game than Ike Quartey.
Yeah, he's fighting
more
very
options,
hard.
more different things he can do in the ring. Quartey's got to land his left hand. It's difficult to do against a southpaw.
There's not much footwork between neither one of the guys. They're just going straight forward and just punching.
You know, you said earlier in the round, Emmanuel, Winky Wright's fighting a very smart fight. That, of course, is dog bites man.
Yeah,
That's not a headline.
Right, but I'm just wondering if he may get tired himself,
Get your
too.
wind back. Relax. Relax. Get your wind back. Get your wind back. Get your wind back. Relax. Wait. After you punch, take a step back. Just take a step back and regroup. Take a step back and regroup, and then fire a good one, too. Relax. All yours, baby. There you go. All yours. Breathe. Take a swallow. There you go. Good work. Come on ahead. Relax. Get your wind, Wink.
Don't let me drop your hands. Don't let me drop your hands. 1, 2, 3. Let me see the punches. Let me see the punches. 1, 2, 3. Your hands low. Let it flow. Let your hand.
Here's a flash from Atlantic City where they had a good card tonight. Margarito winning a unanimous decision over Quartey, and Cotto beating Quintana. Quintana not coming out after the 5th round. Good victory for Cotto.
One of the strongest punchers pound for pound in the sport, particularly the body, is young Miguel Cotto. Through three rounds, average per round. Quartey 18 out of 66, Wright 24 out of 93. Harold, how do you have it so far?
Okay, Jim, 3 rounds to nothing. 30-26, Ronald Winky Wright. You got to give him an extra point for the knockdown. But you know something, Jim? I don't know. I watch Winky Wright round after round after round. There's something wrong with the guy's balance. It looks like he's slapping you to death. He's very good at what he does. He wins virtually every round, but the power is not there. I wish he'd sit down and nail this guy. He'd get him out. Anyway, 3-0, Winky Wright.
No, that's not Winky. Winky does not commit to big punches. He does not have mean intentions on his punches. The phrase we've heard so often in the past, he just uses chopping punches, arm punches to pound out victories.
I got to agree with Larry. When a guy goes 7 fights without a knockout, it's a little bit off base to say if he just throws a few more punches, he's going to knock the guy out. He's not that kind of puncher.
In 10 years, 21 fights, 4 knockouts against journeymen. Every other fighter he fought was a decision.
Punches up, Winky.
But he could stop Quartey here, I believe.
Because of the accumulation of punishment.
And because he's just a bigger guy.
Quartey took this fight because it was available to him, because he wanted another fight relatively quickly after frustration of his loss to Vernon Forrest, and because he thinks if he can beat Winky Wright, he might be able to get a rematch with Oscar De La Hoya. That's his holy grail.
And Wright, now not talking about fighting the rematch with Taylor, he's talking about fighting De La Hoya should De La Hoya beat Mayweather in May.
Well, what a shock.
And he's a part of De La Hoya's promotional company now.
Well,
so
he's got
against the boss.
Well, he's got a separate agreement, unlike the other star fighters. It's not quite the same thing, which his promotion company has an agreement with Golden Boy. He's not a partner in Golden Boy, as, for example, Bernard Hopkins and Shane Mosley and Barrera are.
Round 4 is not terribly different from its predecessors, as Quartey continues to throw left hooks and jabs at close range, mostly the hooks, because Wright's defensive stance makes the jab very difficult. Wright continues to land punches from all angles. Not as heavy as Ike's punches. But Quartey, as the result of that second round knockdown, has a real deficit probably to overcome on the scorecards.
and they wink at each other at the end of the round.
Come on, let's work fair.
Relax. The only problem is you have is that keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. And don't think that the right can't get in. The right is getting in. The right is getting in. Just let the right get in. Keep your hands up and let the right get in. You're hitting more than he is, and then when you relax, then he comes in. All right.
Moving now a little bit. Get yourself moving with your hands up.
I want to give it to him.
Take a couple deep ones. Come on. Come on. Not just the jab, the 1-2 with the left hand behind it.
Real quick, real quick.
Winky Wright's face showed damage after his fight in Connecticut with Sam Solomon early in 2006. His face showed damage, or late in 2005, I should say. His face showed damage after the fight with Jermaine Taylor in June, and already Winky Wright has some abrasions and some redness around his face from the difficulty of Ike Quartey's left jab and left hook. But Winky is winning the fight with greater volume of punches and his ability to throw from more different angles.
And he is throwing harder punches in here than we normally see him. He's really trying to make a statement even at this stage of his career when he is so celebrated.
Yeah, Winky is actually fighting now, you know, just the opposite of what he did. If he'd have fought like this when he fought Trinidad, he would have knocked Trinidad out. But he's actually been a busier fighter, more aggressive, volume, everything.
Winky Wright so thoroughly muffled Felix Trinidad in 2005 in Las Vegas. The statistics were unbelievable. Trinidad landed 55 punches in a single round in his preceding bout against Ricardo Mayorga. In 12 rounds against Winky Wright, Trinidad was credited with 58 landed punches. I believe he was single digits in every round. It was a wipeout. And of course, typical of many of his decisions, Manny, Wright didn't have to go for a knockout against Trinidad. It was abundantly clear who was going to win.
Yeah, but that was his opportunity to step up and really become a superstar that night. And I'll always say that was a big mistake, because he could hit Trinidad with anything at any time that he wanted to. And he was still satisfied to just land one punch, get a point, and to go back into a defensive mode when Trinidad couldn't do anything to him.
Referee Frank Santori, the warning there. Quartey about his head.
Winky is now doing a little bit more boxing, backing up. Maybe that hard pace has taken a little bit of a toll.
Or maybe he's just mixing things up a little bit, giving Quartey different looks because he can.
But, you know, you look at all of his fights recently, from Solomon to Taylor and this fight, he's more of a fighter now. He's getting hit a lot more than he's normally in the past. His footwork, his legs, is definitely not what they used to be, by no means.
Well,
he's working now. He's having to work hard to earn his fights.
He's 35 years old. He's had 363 rounds in the ring, Larry.
Yeah, well, this happens to most boxers as they get older. They get a little bit more stationary. They stand and deliver a little bit more because they have to.
Stop, break, let him go.
Fight is being fought at a grueling pace.
Take a step back, guys. Box. Time.
On the next Real Sports, we'll take a look at the ever-increasing number of high school football players weighing more than 300 pounds, plus the associated health risks of carrying that much weight.
Count your punches. Don't hold any punches. You are trying to pile up punches. That's what you want. When he lashes out, you give him 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Right on you. Beat him back. Beat him back to the jab. Ready?
Here you see Winky and Ike bump heads right there. Even though Winky didn't get a cut, you can see from the expression of his face and rubbing his eyes that it really bothered him. and he was concerned about being cut. And therefore, you see the referee giving a warning to Ike, even though I think it was accidental.
CompuBox numbers in 5. Maybe Quartey is beginning to fade. 9 out of 50. His low landed numbers and his low output of the fight. Wright, 21 out of 80. Quartey hasn't yet scratched on the Letterman scorecard. Seemed to me to be on his way to winning round 2 when Winky Wright knocked him down toward the end of the round, and since then it's pretty much been all Winky Wright. Quartey's corner asking him to let 3 punches go at a time. Quartey still throwing mostly 1 at a time. Straight right hand by Quartey. Not a punch in which he has a ton of confidence, but he uses it again and again. Good right hand inside by Quartey, and now he lands a left hook. That was a good little stretch there for Ike Quartey, and now Wright backs him off with a straight left hand. Quartey trying to get to the body.
Ike, watch your head, Ike.
Got to give a world of credit to Quartey. He's fighting his heart out at the age of 37 against a bigger man.
Good quick left hooks by Quartey, who seems to understand the urgency of his situation, at least in this round.
Yep, and Winky is leaning in close a lot, fighting in close, trying to use his weight for the most part, but the fact that he's not a big puncher is really hurting him a lot now, because he's just trying to out-hustle Quartey.
Wright landing 2 straight left hands and a right hook there, and Quartey for the moment backs off after having been stronger through the first half of the round. This is why fighters train so hard in the gym. This is why fighters run and deny themselves pleasure for 6 or 8 weeks at a time. This is why conditioning is so utterly fundamental to what you do in boxing. Look at the physical output of what these 2 men are trying to do for 12 rounds.
That's a lot of wear and tear in the body when you fight fights like this.
And the fact that they're 72 years old between them.
Amazing.
Says a lot.
Sometimes just doing a fight like this year, fighters may lose up to 10 pounds of weight, sometimes even 15 sometimes in rough, tough fights like this.
In 45 minutes. And when athletes from other sports come to boxing gyms to try this, almost unanimously, they're stunned. Stunned by what it takes to get through a round. Antonio Tarver has not been in the ring since his loss to Bernard Hopkins last June in Atlantic City.
If you don't count his appearance in Rocky VI.
Coming up Christmas, Antonio Tarver and Rocky VI.
Here you see Ike Quartey going to the body, trying to then move up to the head, trying to find a way to penetrate through the tight defense of Winky. Very difficult to do that, though.
But that was a stretch that was all Quartey, and Wright didn't throw back. There haven't been many of those in the fight, and that's a suggestion that maybe Winky Wright is beginning to tire just a little bit, as Quartey seemed to be tiring in the preceding round. CompuBox numbers in 6. Wright, 26 out of 113. Quartey, 19 out of 62. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, 5 rounds to 1. 59-54, Ronald Winky Wright. Jim, I'll tell you, in round 6, Ike Quartey picked up the pace, landed the stronger shots, won the round. I mean, he just kept backing him up, hitting him harder, and, you know, Winky did his thing, but Ike did more damage in the end. So Ike Quartey finally won a round, and, you know, he started to pick up the pace a little. Maybe he can get the right. But so far, all Winky Wright on clean, effective punching, and he's the effective aggressor.
And Wright comes out to begin round 7, seemingly aware that maybe he didn't carry round 6, and tries to reestablish himself in the first 30 seconds of round 7 with some resolute punching and letting his hands go aggressively, and now he goes back into the mode that he was in through most of round 6, and Quartey gets his chance to try to land the left hook. Wright keeping Quartey occupied with his jab. The 113 punches that Winky threw in the last round were a career high output for him. A lot of them were light punches.
Don't hold
At this stage now, it seems like Ike Quartey has lost respect for what he may have had a little bit of Winky's punching power in the beginning, and seems to be walking in where he don't even have much fear of Winky's power at all.
And here's another knockdown as Quartey's glove touched the canvas. He put his left glove on the canvas. Quartey looked over here as if to say, what was that? But I believe I saw the left glove touch the canvas, and referee Frank Santora steps in and rules another knockdown for Wright. So it is prohibitively difficult for Ike Quartey to win on the scorecards now as a result of 2 knockdowns by Wright. It more and more appears that Bazooka would need a knockout.
You know, knockdown is a knockdown. Anytime the top of your body, other than your feet, touch the floor, it's a knockdown.
He's been knocked down twice
of a
tonight.
blow.
He's been knocked down twice tonight, and both times it was more because Wright is just bigger and stronger than that he got hit with something big. They were grappling inside and trading shots with each other, and in both instances, Wright wound up managing to put Quartey on the canvas without really hitting him flush with something big. I say put him on the canvas. In this round, of course, what we're talking about is a glove touching the canvas. I hope the replay is going to show it, because I think I saw it.
Don't spare him, Mike. Don't use your head. Don't spare him.
Now Wright, maybe feeling that he's already won the round, is able to buy a little rest down the stretch. Pretty good round for Winky before the knockdown.
Right. As I was saying before, I was so rudely embarrassed by Winky knocking Ike Quartey down. It seems like Ike is becoming more of a little bully now. It looks like he's starting to move forward with a lot more confidence, almost to some degree kind of intimidating with it. Winky now.
Don't worry about the slip. Don't worry about the slip. When you come down, put your hands up. Wow. Move. Keep the movement. Right up. The right up.
Right here, you can see just as we're coming in, Winky lands a punch right there. And mainly a case of balance, and you see the legs all getting crossed up once again. Nope, I don't even see him.
I'm not sure the left glove touched the canvas after all. Let's look at the left glove here.
I see him going down. I don't think that he touched the floor with his left hand. No.
He did not. He touched his shoe. He touched his shoe. He never got it to the canvas. That should not have been a knockdown. It was a terrible error. So now, Quartey finds himself more behind the 8 ball as the result of the totally erroneous knockdown ruling by referee Frank Santori.
Does anybody here favor instant replay in a situation like that?
I do not understand why we do not use video electronics to improve the management of fights. Every other sport that has electronics uses it.
Agreed.
Would have been easy enough for a referee or an official to look at that replay between rounds and take away the knockdown. Probably not a material issue in the outcome of the fight, however, as Winky Wright has been winning, apparently by a landslide so far.
And if you notice, Winky still has better balance. When they get in close and it changes often, Ike gets square, he loses his balance, and that's what's attributed to him losing his balance a lot. Right now, he's perfectly square. Winky keeps better balance when they're in the close and exchanges.
Good right hand inside by Quartey. Just trying to bust through Wright's guard with that straight right hand. Unlike almost every other southpaw in the sport, I can seldom remember seeing Winky Wright rocked by a straight right hand lead down the middle.
No, Winky is very, very good defense. One of the best defensive fighters in boxing. And also, he has a good chin also, in addition to when he does get hit, even with the power punches that Jermaine Taylor caught him with, when he did nail him between the gloves, Winky took those punches and came right back. we often find a fighter with a good defense, and we forgot to give him credit for his ability to take a punch because he so seldom gets hit.
Right hand by Quartey. But those are few and far between now as the pace of the fight slows a little bit in round 8. And that, too, at this moment operates in Winky Wright's favor. Wright able to throw jabs and hooks with that right hand while backing up.
Winky's work rate is just too much right now. And as Larry said earlier, also his physical size.
Has been too much of a work rate all night long.
And Quartey's bad balance once he gets close sometimes.
All right. Take it easy. Take your time. Take your time. At this point, you know, you've gone far. Now you power punches. Power punches throughout. Chill it back. Power punches. Pushing back, okay?
You ain't got to knock him out. You're beating him half to death. You dropped him twice. Don't worry about it.
Pop, pop, pop.
Breathe. Couple deep ones. That's it. That's it. All right, champ, let's go.
I wonder
Come on,
if
champ.
that remark by
this.
Dan
Come on.
Birmingham suggests that Rinky wants to knock out Quartey in this fight.
It suggests that Dan Birmingham thinks he might want to. That's for sure. CompuBox numbers through 8, average per round. Wright 23 out of 88. Quartey 14 out of 57. Wright averaging 42 jabs thrown per round. That's a lot. Occupying Quartey with that right hand. Limiting Quartey's chance to use his left hand, which is his big weapon.
Well, he's definitely neutralized Quartey's strong punch, which is his left jab. You saw right there, Winky shot a right jab over Quartey's strong left hand, and that's pretty much taking his best weapon away from him. So for the most part, all he's got to do is watch out for Quartey's right hand, which is really not his power punch anyway.
Jermaine Taylor almost completely dispensed with the jab against Winky Wright. It gets frustrating after a while to try to land it.
Yeah, Winky's very, very good. He picks off your left jab and then counters you with his same glove that he picks your punch off with. Then he hits you with a right jab over top of that also. Very experienced in fighting right-handed fighters.
One thing Taylor was able to do, since he's bigger and stronger than Wright, was simply to barge through the guard from time to time and make contact on Wright's face, particularly with his right hand. But Quartey, not as big, not as strong, not able to do the same thing.
That's exactly what happened. And right now, Quartey just can't do it. And Quartey doesn't have that type of a punching power. He's good for a welterweight puncher, but not a big puncher up at the middleweight level, or even the super middleweight.
Good left hand by Winky Wright. Stunned Quartey momentarily. Ike going back to throwing that tight, economical left hook. Wright throwing the jab out there over and over and over. Quartey attempting the straight right hand. Ike doesn't even seem to hold his right glove in the same way that he does the left glove.
No, just right now he's very, very frustrated. Winky is just taking him to school but in every way. Conditioning, busier, better place punches.
Come on, we get you right in the fight. Wait, we get you right in the fight, buddy.
One of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, trying to reaffirm his status in that regard, Winky Wright.
Watch the elbow, Winky, don't use your
And
elbow.
scoring, as has been the case throughout his career, against Ike Quartey. Wright's chin is good enough, and his defensive skill is so impressive that it's fascinating, Emmanuel, that in his loss to Julio Vasquez 10 years ago, he was knocked down 5 times. How did somebody knock Winky Wright down 5 times?
That's a long time ago. You know, different particular nights, situations, different things happen.
Well, he was 22 or 23 when that happened down in South America. And then he lost a fight in Africa. And
Rub his leg. To a terrific fighter named Harry Simon.
Who was unbeaten.
But you never know what kind of conditions and things that existed at that particular time.
Don't allow him to push you. Don't allow him to push you. He's pushing you. He's pushing you. You got to step up. Step up. And then give me one big right hand. Give me one big punch. Give me one big one.
Breathe. Make him pay for that little sucker punch bullshit. Come on. All right, guys. Step back and punch. Step back and punch.
Round 10 begins. Harold, how do you have it through 9?
8 rounds to 1, 89-80, Ronald Winky Wright. You got to give him an extra point for the knockdowns in round 2 and round 7. Other than that, Winky Wright is dominating this fight. Somehow or another, Winky comes out, he's always in a rhythm. You know, I mean, he's always on his game. On the other hand, Ike Quartey just can't seem to get into this fight. He can't seem to establish any sort of rhythm. It's hard to punch when you got a right jab in your face all night, and that's what Winky Wright does to you. 8 rounds to 1, Winky Wright.
And we talked about Wright's continuing evolution as an offensive fighter. He's thrown 404 power punches in this fight. That's the highest output of power punches ever for Winky Wright. He's got 2 more rounds to go.
And
So,
you know, he's showing amazing conditioning too, because even though he threw so many punches the first 3 rounds, I saw him get a little winded. He seemed to have just caught a second wind and went straight on through. And that's the mark of a good fighter. You're always going to get tired in fights, even when you're in shape. It's the guy who can fight while he's tired is who goes on to be champions. All champions can fight while they're exhausted. Ali was known for that. A lot of his greatest victories came when he was exhausted and the other guy was exhausted, but he could continue to fight and think good, and that's why he won a lot of his fights with late knockouts.
Emmanuel, Dan Birmingham asks his fighters to train and particularly to spar in the morning. He believes that they are mentally fresher and physically sharper in the morning, and they'll do better work if they do it at 9 or 10 a.m. rather than later in the afternoon. Your thoughts?
Well, that depends on everybody's preference. I don't believe in it that much. I really like the guys to take the running in the morning, come back to take a little rest, eat a light breakfast, and then to train early in the afternoon. And it breaks up the day a lot better, too. And then maybe go to a movie or something in the evening. Because you have the whole day left almost with nothing to do when you do that, and I think that's not good. Some guys like to train actually at the same time that they're going to fight at night to make sure that their mind and the body is physically alert at that particular hour.
Joe Calzaghe wound up training at 2 o'clock in the morning to prepare for his fight earlier this year against Jeff Lacey. In case you just joined us for the second half of the card tonight, Jeff Lacey, in his first fight since the loss to Calzaghe earlier this year, got an extremely hard-fought, close decision against Vitaly Sitko of Ukraine in the first fight on this card. It was not a particularly encouraging performance for fans of Lacey who want to see him come back from the big loss to Calzaghe.
Yeah, speaking of training times, when I was training Oliver McCall to fight Lennox Lewis in England, we actually trained at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's rough because we knew we were going to be fighting at that time related to the broadcast back here to America.
It was about 2:27 a.m., I think, when Oliver McCall landed the big right hand that knocked Lewis out.
Yeah, it can make a big difference when you're fighting that late. At 9 or 10 o'clock is okay, but when you're fighting at 2 o'clock, that's a big difference.
You do it. Just be careful.
Relax.
Listen.
Two more.
Keep bouncing, punch, bounce away, just like you did this round. He can't touch you. You're giving him too much distance. All right? You got the reach. You got everything on this guy. Don't make it hard.
You're getting in too close to the guy. You just must bounce, or he's bouncing off you. You're standing him too close. Keep pressing. Keep pressing. Don't run after him. You hurt yourself. When he gets to the rope, you punch first. You punch first. You punch first. You're doing
We've
good.
seen a lot of great old pros in this circumstance often just decide it's not worth it anymore. They won't come out of their corners. It's the end of their careers. They just don't want to get hit anymore. Ike Quartey who couldn't need this less because he's such a successful businessman in Ghana, in the construction business. He's still out here trying. He's a proud man. He won't give up. He'll fight to the end, an end that looks like it will be a bitter end, but for him, a fighting end.
But also in that same realm, too, Larry, I'm looking at Winky. 3 of his most aggressive fights that he's had in his entire career is at this stage now, when a lot of veteran fighters are fighting more defensive now, but he's doing just the opposite.
And this is Quartey's most spirited rally of the fight in the last 15 or 20 seconds. Winky stopped throwing punches, and Quartey got a chance to land several sharp blows to the body, a left hook upstairs, but he can't hurt Wright. And because he cannot hurt him at this point, he's in tremendous difficulty in the fight, having already been knocked down twice and having lost virtually every round. Quartey, according to his promoter Lou DiBella, is worth $15 million or more. He's building a 200-bed hospital in Accra, Ghana right now. Already, he is the builder of hotels and other large structures there.
Break, you're not gonna punch. Break.
Unlike his father, who had 27 children, I guess he's more for population control. He only has 2.
0 population growth. In case you missed that Larry Merchant observation before the fight, let's just make it one more time. He's the youngest of 27 children. He has a sister who's how old, Larry?
85.
Ike Quartey.
Sure that's not his great-grandmother?
It's his great-grand sister.
Winky Wright has 2 beautiful children.
Come on. Break, break. All right, don't punch. Stop. Break.
Ages 11 and 13.
This fight has gone exactly as was expected.
Yeah, and when one guy through 10 rounds has landed 230 punches and the other guy's landed 138, unless there's a huge difference in power, you know who's going to win.
And here's Winky standing and delivering. As you said throughout the night, Emmanuel, it's not quite the same Winky.
No, but he's more of a fighter now. He's willing to get hit more, fight, and he's getting hit once again. There's 3 fights in a row that he's getting hit a lot.
Yep, but he's going to wind up throwing more than 1,000 punches in the fight. He's already thrown more punches in the fight than ever before. So Winky Wright continues to become an increasingly offensive fighter very late in his career. Turned 35 this past week.
And is getting hit
Good work.
also
You got one more, and that's it.
in his career. As way throwing more
Pitching
punches
nearly a
and
shutout.
receiving more
Don't
punches.
get careless. Keep your defense tight. Don't let your hands down. Keep yourself moving.
There's the last. There's the
Punch,
last
step
round.
back.
There's the last round.
Don't stand there and
And
climb up.
make sure you don't make any mistakes. There's the last round. There's the last round. Make sure you don't make any mistakes. Make sure you don't make any mistake. Keep your hands up. Make sure you're all right. Breathe. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And this is the last one.
That was a concession speech from the corner of Quartey. They want to see him go out on his feet. And I think it's the right speech to give him.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they believe that he's ahead on points, and that's why they're saying don't make a mistake.
Through round 11, Winky Wright had thrown 940 punches. So if he throws 60 punches in this round, and I believe he probably will, he'll wind up throwing 1,000 punches in the fight. That's a career high already for Wright. Again, it underlines the degree to which he is continuing to evolve as an offensive fighter. And as Emmanuel Stewart said, yeah, he's getting hit more, but he could afford to get hit more. As brilliant as a defender as he was a couple of years ago.
Yes,
Well,
and also he's got a good chin, too.
Well, we saw a similar evolution, for example, with Chris Berg. Now, in the last few years as a heavyweight, how he would stand and fight.
And actually won the controversial decision over Okenda simply because he actually was too aggressive in the latter part of the fight.
And Winky standing still now and letting Quartey bomb away. Ike Quartey has thrown about the last 20 or 30 punches unanswered as Wright simply stands in a peekaboo stance and allows Quartey to empty his punching inventory. Maybe Winky winds up not throwing 1,000 punches in the fight.
Is this Winky
was waiting to saving it all to come back with a good volley to finish up the round good.
I think it's Winky paying homage to an old friend.
No, I think he was just trying to hold on to save all his energy for one final outburst. But when you're fighting and you keep your hands up over your head, even though you're blocking blows, strong punches landing on your gloves, it still jars the brain. And when you go through so many years of that, they have their effect. As long as you're getting hit, even if they're on the gloves or elbows, eventually it starts busting your body up.
Boxing is a sport where it would be very dangerous to pay homage to an old friend.
Ike Quartey may be able to go out saying he won the 12th round, the last round of his career, presumably.
And if it's the last round of his career, Quartey goes out having lost to four of the most prominent fighters of his generation: Oscar De La Hoya, Fernando Vargas, Vernon Forrest, and Winky Wright. That's a legitimate who's who. Ike Quartey fought the best, basically has not been able to beat the best, but he was there round after round. Winky Wright trying to close the show for his fans.
This is like seeing a glacier in the Caribbean. We've never seen Winky do that.
Well, within the last month, guys, within the last month, statements have been made by the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. Mayweather made his statement against Vladimir, Pacquiao made his statement against Morales, and tonight Winky Wright made his statement against Ike Quartey.
I think the statements of Pacquiao and Winky rang loudest.
Daniel O'Dampton, longtime trainer of Ike Quartey, with a friendly smile and a hug for Winky Wright. Two old friends who, as Larry told you, actually lived together in the same hotel in Paris for a while when both were promoted by the Acaris brothers in Paris. At that time, Quartey was the star. Tonight, he was still a star, but he was beaten by the superstar, Winky Wright. And very quickly, let's look at the 3 judges who don't seem to have that difficult a job this evening. Dave Moretti, veteran, talented judge. Notable fight. Taylor over Hopkins, 115, 113 in their second fight. That was a unanimous decision that night, all 3 scored it that way. Don Trella of Connecticut, only 2 title fights, had Miguel Cotto beating Paulie Malignaggi in what was apparently a tougher fight for Cotto than his fight against Carlos Quintana tonight. And Peter Trematera had Antonio Tarver 117 and 111 over Jones in their third fight here in this arena in October a year ago. Those scores were 16-12, 16-12, 17-11 for Tarver. Now Lupe Contreras stands by with the official numbers on Winky Wright, Ike Quartey.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, the official scorecard reads as follows. Judges Moretti and Trella scored about identically at 117 to 110. And Judge Trematera scores it 117 to 109 for the winner by way of unanimous decision, Ronald Winky Wright.
Winky Wright fights in his hometown for the first time in 14 years. Well, actually across the bay from his hometown in his home area, and makes it a very successful homecoming with an easy victory in a well-planned, well-fought outing against Ike Quartey. Final CompuBox numbers, and let's see if Wright got to 1,000. 1,011. He threw 71 punches, even while sometimes rope-a-doping in that last round, and winds up throwing nearly 370 punches more than Ike Quartey, landing 95 more punches than Ike Quartey. They both landed, interestingly, at the same overall percentage. Wright a little bit more accurate with his power punches, 201 out of 524. That's the most power punches he's ever thrown in a fight. And Quartey, 151 out of 432, a pretty typical Ike Quartey effort against good opponents. And Larry Merchant stands by with Ronald Winky Wright.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Winky. It looked, if my eyes didn't deceive me, like you were trying to close the show.
I was trying to close the show. We talked about it. Ike, a tough fighter. I dropped him a few times, hurt him a few times, but he come right back. He tough as nails.
Why did you want to close the show?
Because people keep saying I can't punch. I can punch. It's just that a lot of times I don't go for the knockout, but taking nothing away from Ike, great chin. Hey, he durable.
Does this mean that from now on, like a lot of veteran fighters who were boxers for much of their careers, you know that you're going to have to do more standing and delivering?
Oh, definitely. I want to do more standing and delivering. I want to please the crowd. I want to show that I can punch and, ask any fighter that I fought if I can punch.
Was there any emotion in you involved in fighting Ike Quartey, who you go back a long way with?
I didn't really. I wanted to get in there and win, and if I knock him, I knock him. But he's a great friend, a great guy. I didn't want to hurt him bad, but I wanted to win the fight, and he wanted to win the fight.
Did you hurt a hand or a knuckle in this fight?
A little bit sore, but it's great. I had to shake it off a little bit. Then I got back into the game plan and threw some more left hands. Like I said, he's tough as nails.
All right, let's talk about the future for a moment. You seem to have gotten over the whole Taylor business, and you're now pointing to whom?
My co-promoter. my co-promoter. My co-promoter. Hey, but my co-promoter over here, he got a great fight coming up against Floyd Mayweather, and I think it's gonna be a hell of a fight, and I'm rolling with Oscar.
So that you see that your best path in the future now is to try to fight the winner of that fight.
Yes, I definitely want the winner of that fight. I'm telling y'all on HBO, so if anybody else say it, I didn't say it, I said it live. I want the winner of the fight. If I can't get him, we'll work something else out. But right now, I'm looking for the best fighters. I'm an older fighter. I fought the best. I fought whoever wanted to fight me, and I won. So, it's one man, like I said, that's a great champion that, before I end my career, I would love to fight, and that's Oscar.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again, Winky.
St. Pete,
Jim?
Tampa.
All right, thank you very much. Well, you heard Winky Wright say he now wants to fight Oscar De La Hoya after months of talking about a possible rematch with Jermaine Taylor. And Jermaine, your fighter, if he gets past the assignment next week against Kasum Uma, is apparently headed for a possible fight against Sergio Mora of the Contender Series, and then possibly going up to 168 to fight Joe Calzaghe. All that is possibly on the drawing board. Does that mean we're not going to see a rematch of Wright and Taylor?
I don't know. I would like to see a rematch myself, but, Winky is so convinced in his own beliefs. That's why the fight ended up being a draw. When they told him to come out, have a good, strong last round, he felt that he was ahead on the scorecard, so he wouldn't do it. And that's the same way when they asked for making this fight, I understand, he felt he should get the same amount of money and everything. So, I don't know. Based on a lot of problems, it may or may not happen. But I would like to see a rematch myself between the two.
Winky Wright says he'll only fight Jermaine Taylor again if they have a 50-50 monetary split. Taylor and his promoter, Lou DiBella, say, Winky, you're being unrealistic. Meanwhile, we come to Tampa for the homecoming of Winky Wright and for the attempted comeback of Jeff Lacey. Both local fighters win, but not in the same fashion, Larry.
No, but I have just a couple of thoughts about Winky Wright, because we saw with Lacey, it's always been my opinion that he was rated a little higher in the echelon than he belonged because he simply was an American crowd-pleasing fighter. And that when he ran up against an elite fighter, we saw exactly where he stands. As for Winky, what fascinates me is that he has a reputation, which he is not unproud of having been a high roller at the Las Vegas gaming tables. And while he had that reputation, he was the most conservative of fighters in the ring. So you were wondering, where's that gambling instinct in him? Well, now he says he's winding down at the tables, and happily, he's winding up in the ring.
It's great to see him throwing more punches. It'll be fascinating to see what happens in terms of big fights in the rest of Winky's career. Does he get that De La Hoya matchup he's craving? He's only one of many, but outside of Floyd Mayweather, he's maybe the most prominent one. We shall see. Meanwhile, there's a lot of boxing left this year on HBO. First of all, this Tuesday, we want to show you a special edition of Costas Now featuring an exclusive interview with Sports Illustrated's 2006 Sportsman of the Year. Who will it be? Then December 25, it's the start of HBO's Boxing's Best of 2006. Christmas night, you'll see Jermaine Taylor against Winky Wright. The next night, it's Oscar De La Hoya against Ricardo Mayorga. Wednesday the 27th, it's Manny Pacquiao versus Eric Morales in their second and third nights. We'll be with you next Saturday night with Jermaine Taylor against Kasim Uma. Next on HBO, tune in for The Wire on the East Coast and the premiere of A History of Violence on the West Coast. Great movie. For our entire HBO crew, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Tampa, Florida.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports.